I'm going to animate the position of this text to show motion paths. So I'm going to set up my position animation. I'm going to pull the playhead out to roughly 2.5 seconds and move the text, and you'll see a line plotted from the original point to the new point. If I go to 5 seconds and pull it elsewhere, then it's going to continue that line. This line is the motion path, and the motion path is basically plotting the course between all of the keyframes that I've created down here. The keyframes are visible on the timeline as these little diamond shapes, and they're visible up here in the composition as these squares. When I have one selected, you'll see it becomes filled with red. When it's not selected, it's an empty box. So if you look at this one here, when I click on the keyframe, it becomes selected. Now I can do the same by clicking up here, and if you look down here, if you look down here, when I select it up here, it becomes selected. So these are just two views of the same thing. The motion path is by default going to give you a curve, and the curve can be controlled using these control points here. Now if you want to change it from a curve to a straight line, then you need to adjust its interpolation method, and you can do that either on the keyframes up here or down here. So if, for instance, I want this to be a corner as opposed to a curve, I'll right click on it or control click, go to keyframe interpolation and change the spatial interpolation to linear. When I click OK, you'll see that it turns into more of a corner. When I adjust the curves from these keyframes or the control points, you'll see that I can make it into a corner shape. If I wanted it to be completely straight line, I would right click and change the interpolation of all of my points to linear. The dots indicate the frames that the playhead needs to move through as it goes from keyframe to keyframe. Each dot is equal to one frame. So you can see it moving through those dots and moving through the frames down here, moving through the dots up here. Now finally, when you have a motion path and you have an object such as a piece of text like this, and you want to make it look like a more natural moving down along the text, you can go up to Layer, Transform, Auto Orient, Orient along path, click OK, and now it's going to follow that path.